Happy to see me so soon. Welcome to part 0 of what is to be revealed as the next event. That's right, we have another event coming up, part number 14 to be precise. A number that should have been associated with last event, but whatever, what can you do? What we've been expecting to see as of late is that they've been doing these kind of mergers type of deal, where there is a bit of an event but permanent update. I won't go too much in depth because we pretty much know what it is, but let's go ahead and talk about some of the teasers, shall we? Before we go on and talk about what the main update is all about, and some of the context of the story, and some of the add-ons, and part of my involvement, I haven't gotten too much involved, but I did suggest something. But let's go ahead and talk about it. So, during the last week of the Valentine's Day update, we got something posted on Sunday, I believe, which was this image here of both Slappy and Mr. Wood. And it goes something along like this.
Maybe it's time to join forces against the enemy. You mean enemies? Right. 2 versus 2 seems fair enough.
Huh, 2 versus 2, huh? I wonder what that might have been implying. So it's like, oh, wow, so Slappy and Mr. Wood are going to be teaming up. Well, not really. You see, this little teaser was referencing the fact that we were going to get 2 new characters, as we know now. But something else did pop up, which I am going to show off right now, which is, at some point, we got this post here, which says, hashtag breaking news. Young boy with absolutely no interest in doing homework, like ever, is missing and his gang is searching for him. If you know anything about where he could be, please leave us at the comment below. And it is poor Dustin Williams who is missing, and comedically enough, he's in that missing milk jar, not missing, but milking camp. Oh god, the milk cartridge, there you go. What you see in cartoons, and it has this weird kind of 3D effect. Like it reminds me of the 3D effect that was happening back in the Valentine's Day thing. But anyways, looking closely at this weird thing, there is something we want to keep in focus of, and it's right near here under his name and his sad face. It says this: last seen in the rainforest. If you have seen any information, or you have any information, please call 0800 not a joke, weird stuff happened 00. Long number, I must say, I understand that, but there's your other clue that came up: rainforest. So 2 people in a rainforest, what does that all have to do? Well, for the first time ever, we got ourselves our update, and it is the beast beneath the sink. This is an update that is pretty interesting because, like last year, how we had a 2 double feature, this one is also a double feature of sorts. It is not only a double feature with 2 books involved, but this is also double features with holidays involved. As you know, this is going to be our first St. Patrick's Day limited time update, but it's also our first permanent one as well, like what happened with Ellie. But this one's going to do with more canon characters or IP characters that were based on books. Now, the 2 books involved here is that of the It Came Beneath the Sink and The Beast from the East. As we see with the name title, you could probably suggest what it was with the 2 books being involved. But you might be asking, Grim, what do you mean 2 holidays? Well, as we know, the first holiday is St. Patrick's Day, of course, but what's the other holiday? Well, we're in the year 2020, and it just so happens that back in the end of January going into February, we celebrated, or some people celebrated a new holiday, you might have heard of it, called Chinese New Year. And as you know, the Chinese New Year is interesting because it celebrates every 12 years with a new animal to represent what this year is all about. So you'd be like, oh, where were you born as? What type of thing? Well, this year is the year of the rat. And it just so happens that they decided to make our good old beast a rat. A giant rat. Ooh! Okay, let's explain this for a minute. So, I'll explain more about these characters and the story, but let's go ahead and take things back a bit. And let's talk about the stories that are involved. So let's talk about the story I had involvement with, It Came Beneath the Sink. So why do I say that I was involved with this? Well, I'll tell you why. You see, back in the day, back when I mean in January of sorts, before we knew what the Valentine's Day update was, I ended up learning about it because my contact said he wanted some suggestions to what might be coming for March, because they already had February update, but they needed to know what to do with March. So later on, he kind of tells me he didn't want St. Patrick's Day to be about drinking because, as we all know, with the recent event that was this past, it had this drinking element to it. So I was like, okay, yeah, I get that. So I figured, what can we use? I did suggest some things, but then I remembered something that was interesting. Another known fact when it comes to the Irish lore is that of luck, and more or less the Lucky Charms. And I'm not talking about the cereal brand. I'm talking about actual, like, charms. Things like horseshoes, four-leaf clovers, I guess rabbit's foot, I guess you could look at that. You know, things like these natures. They're all representing of luck of sorts. And you can say that it's all about luck when it comes to, like, kissing the Blarney Stone and all that fun Irish tradition. So it's all about lucky, right? So I figured, well, is there a story that has luck in it? There was. One of them. It Came Beneath the Sink. And it was with the Gruel. Now, the Gruel itself is this weird, spongy-like character that looked bizarre. This is the TV version of it, by the way. I loved that there's another creature called, I'm trying to remember what its name was, but it's like a Pt.0. And it's like, oh, it's even meaner. But the idea of the Gruel is that it basically, when you find it, it becomes your pet, and it gives you bad luck. And you can't get rid of it, or else you die after 24 hours. So it's like, so you're basically stuck with this thing. But they found out later on in the story that you can actually give love to the thing, and it will actually give you the opposite effect of good luck. So in the story, it actually blew up. And the TV show, it still was alive, but it became weak. And it's like, oh, I love you, and it's like this cringy dialogue kind of deal thing here. So it's like, oh god. But yeah, so with that, not much to talk about with that one, I know. I mean, it's not really the main focus, but I did suggest this because I thought this would be great for St. Patrick's Day like event. And this is where I believe the contact of the person who's in charge of the design came with the idea of bringing the beast in, and I'll explain a little bit about that from what they told me. But before then, let me share with you some stuff. Besides the book cover, this is the artwork that was done by Tim, and it actually looks pretty interesting. The creepy eyes is the one thing most people know about. It's like, oh, it's spooky, you don't know what it is, right? And then, of course, we get the French version, which is basically a copy of the last one, except this time you kind of look at it and it's like you see the sponge-like creature, which is the Gruel. So, kind of is defeating a purpose a bit, but it kind of gives homage to the one here. Of course, we can't get away from talking about Japan, from It Came From Beneath the Sink. And it's weird because it's like this blood hand holding this red tomato looking thing with eyeballs. And I believe the reason why it looks like with eyeballs with the red is, I believe in the story they say that it can actually change its color depending on what mood it's feeling. So there's that. Then there's the UK version, which is actually pretty unique. I don't know who the artist is for these, but they only did like a few book covers, and then it's like, that's it. And it's interesting because with Goosebumps for UK, it's like these weird bubbly thing that sinks into the stuff, but then afterwards it's like, nah, screw it, we're just gonna use Tim's artwork. I think I mentioned this one before. But yeah, we get to see the Gruel with the human-like eyeballs. hanging around with dish soap and all that stuff. And I wonder if people actually use the poor thing as an actual sponge. Like, will it actually work? I have no idea. But that's just something to think about. And of course, somebody we haven't seen for a while is good old Korea with their horrendous, horrifying cover of God knows what this is. Save the Earth. It came to sink, and it's like, what is this monstrosity? What does these creatures have to do with this? I don't know. Apparently, this is the book. Korea, man. What can you do? Ooh. Before I also leave and go to the next book, the more in-depth book, the more interesting book, there was something else I wanted to mention, and this is the advertising that they did. So when it came to the advertising for the book, there were only two things that were kind of present. The first one, basically there were caps, where one of them here is like, Goosebumps came beneath the sink with this black one. It looked kind of okay. But then you get this gray one, which even looked even cooler with the creepy... It almost looks like its own... It's like the hat has a sentient being, and it's just pissed off that you're about to wear it. With the, of course, the Goosebumps trademark on there. Oh, yes, the good old trademark symbol. Of course, how can we forget the trademark symbol? Yeah. Alright, so... Before we move on to the other book, I just want to throw in some interesting trivia about the gruel, as it were, or the book it comes from anyways. So one thing I found interesting here is, one interesting fact was, as you know, when it comes to first editions of R.L. Stine's Goosebumps books, that they would actually go ahead and tease you with what the next book was going to be about. So for Monster Blood 3, the book It Came Beneath the Sink was going to be the next book in line. And the title of it was originally, well, It Came From Under the Sink. As we know, it changed under to beneath. Interesting fact. Someone on Twitter at some point actually asked R.L. Stine in person, did the previous owner of the killer sponge die? Is that why the kids from the family that moved in suddenly became the owner of it? Stine jokingly responded with,
I think you need to get a life.
That's not very nice. God. Ooh, Stine is being a bit feisty there. Another interesting fact is that this, the cover art for this by Tim, this is one of many, or few books that had his artwork that he did not sign in. Did not know that, but there you go, some interesting stuff. So there are two references of where this book kind of was in other mediums. So the first one is that in other Gives Yourself Goosebumps book, The Curse of the Creepy Coffin, both the gruel and the Lanx, that's what it was. The Lanx, that's the stupid potato thing. Gotcha. Alright, so they appeared in the book, apparently. And, of course, the gruel also appeared in Goosebumps the Game as an item. And it's interesting because you can actually take it with you and you can click on it and it will comment of, like, this sponge feels warm, like it's breathing. So it doesn't really do anything here. With that in mind, let's go ahead and talk about the main meat and potatoes. The one that most likely this is going to be based around. The Beast from the East. So, what is this significant, and why does this thing look like a rat? Well, I'll talk more about that, but let's talk more about the story first. So, the story about this is a kid and her twin brothers are going on a camping trip. And they were like, alright, let's go in the forest. Or, I don't know what happened, but they were like going in the forest. And then became lost. And then all of a sudden, they're in Seuss land. Like, literally, it's just this bizarre land that makes no sense. And then they meet these weird creatures that look something like this. This is the apparent reference sheet that they would use for marketing purposes. And I guess this is like the best description of it. And they were talking and were like, oh, well, these guys are like, well, we want to play like a game called Beast from the East. And, yeah. Fun fact, Beast from the East was a terrible game R.L. Stine made with his friends, and it just made no sense. It's just, like, what is going on here? Why did they do this? So anyways, they meet these characters, this creature, and they were like, oh, we're going to play this game, right? And it's based off of a crappy a game that R.L. Stine made, apparently, from what I heard, and it was not really good. Yeah, it's not that fun. Anyways, the thing about that is this creature, this weird game, and the thing about it is that it's like a game of tag, except you have to hit the person on the east side of you, and then it's stupid because it's the best way to describe this game is the game I Win. Have you ever seen Big Daddy? There's a game called I Win, which is just like a kid is just like the game is like you just win. It's like, this is bullshit. Yeah, because literally what it is the character's like, I got you, and they're like, oh well, you see, you tagged me here when I was touching this, therefore it doesn't count. It's like that kind of level of BS. Right, the whole I'm gonna add stupid things to the rules and just not tell you about it, right? And then there's this weird Wonderland-like thing, like they meet this squirrel dog, and it's just so weird. It ends off with them they lose apparently, and they're about to eat them, and then the other brother that ended up leaving, one of the twins, ended up coming back, and then they're like, oh, I didn't know you were level 3. Oh, man, I didn't know you clone yourselves. Or, you can clone yourself. And didn't know what twins were, so they're like, shh, damn it. I guess we can't play. I guess we can't play with you because you're obviously higher power than us, right? So they ended up leaving, and they're like, all right, that's good. And then they meet another creature, and it's like, oh, well, we're level 3. And the guy's like, oh, yeah, well, guess what? I am too. Let's play a game. And that's how it ends. So they're dead. As far as I know, they're dead. Ooh, okay. Now, so some things about the look of the book. As we know, we have the artwork by Tim. It looks like this. It's very unique how it kind of has this weird koala-looking bear thing. I mean, it does talk about some of the interesting stuff here, but yeah, there's that. Some other interesting pieces is the French cover. Yeah, this is the only cover that got unique cover art, and it looks so bizarre. It's so weird. And you know what's even weirder? There's actually a full picture of it right here. We hardly get pictures of the full thing in High Glory. And look at this weird baboon-looking mother ugly thing. It's just so good. Some images too. There is this image here of the beast having a barbecue. I think this is like an example of something you can use for marketing. It's like, oh yeah, well, I'll put this on the shirt. It's like, oh yeah, the weird thing in the 90s that he would used to do, a just weird thing. Back in 2015, they also re-released some of the books in their classic line. However, they put them in these weird, interesting, cool tin box. So you got the 3 books, which is the Terror Tower, and then the Why I'm Afraid of Bees. Ooh, that's an interesting story. Ooh, I can only imagine if they decide to do that as a story. You know what? I think I could think of something with that. Now that I'm thinking about it, that's gonna be an interesting thing. Weird bee monsters, man. Oh dear. Anyways, yeah. So let's go back to the question beforehand that I got confused of. So, why is the beast a weird-looking rat creature compared to his other form, which is the koala bear-looking thing like he was described in the book? Well, I have a theory on this, and it's because of, again, to connect with the Chinese New Year element of it being the year of the rat and having rats be hiding beneath the sink, the idea behind this title of the story. But I also believe it's also referencing to the appearance from the game, Goosebumps the game, which looked something like this. And yeah, you can see the resemblance of the beast with this one here, so I think this one looked a little bit more ratty. So I thought, yeah, you know what, this is what the beast looks like. And to tell you the truth, I actually like this kind of beast look design compared to the one that's officially given according to the Goosebumps lore. It's just like, this game is not official. it's official, but it's like, we're going to make our own rules. This is a universe that has different things in it, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. I'm going to keep on saying that. It's going to be annoying. Anyways, yeah, so there's that. One last thing I wanted to go before we go on with talking about what is in this update is that the Beast is actually in another book. Can you guess where it was? That's right, give yourself goosebumps, because of course it is. It actually is this weird creature in the book that asks you what's the beast's color, right? And it is kind of giving you this feeling that the creature that's asking you is the beast himself. So it's like, what color is it, blue or green? And it's like, oh, well, if it's green, you basically get killed by the beast. So yeah, that's interesting to see. And that's weird too, because Attack of the Babysitter has a rat in it. So more connection with rats. Yeah, Rizzo's gonna be in the game. Oh man, I'm getting sick. Anyways, yeah, so let's go ahead and talk about the event itself and what is going to be in the game. As you probably noticed, there are two characters here, a boy and a girl, that look somewhat familiar. Well, as the pop-up here would suggest, what is new? St. Patrick's month is here. Lucky us, there's a new monster terrorizing everyone in town, and now Dustin's gone missing. Join forces with neighbors to get him back. Sounds easy enough, but then here comes this. Let's give a warm welcome with the Walt twins, Nat and Pat. Two more heroes to join the rosters to face which evil there is in town. Ooh, wait a minute. They're twin boys, yet why is there a girl there? That's because Nat got gender swap, baby! In this universe, they're a little bit older, and a reason why Nat is... This is my theory, okay? Why they changed it. Now, you could say that Nat and Pat are weird names, and I feel like they did this on purpose because it's like short for... My guess is Pat is short for Patrick, and Nate is Nat for Nathan. That's my guess. But in this case, now you can say that Nat is Natalie. That's my theory, anyways. So why is Nat a girl? I think the reason of it is that she is then connected to the character that was previously in the Beneath the Sink, and a reference to the main character's older sibling, Ginger. I don't think Ginger was a ginger herself, but you know, it's obvious that these two kids are a bit of from the Irish scent due to the little hints that's in the game. I will show you what I mean when the game comes out, but yeah. Anyways, continuing on, it says then later on, help them move out of the forest and lure the beast out from his whereabouts. So the story around this time is that Dustin has gotten missing, and the beast that is in this forest is to blame. Now, I'm going to say I did take a look into what the story is going to have, and by God, this is going to be interesting. If you thought last event was bad, then don't worry. This is going to be funny. There's no warnings. Don't worry. So it's not as bad as the last one. No controversy. There might be one thing, but I don't think it's going to be that bad compared to, like I mentioned before, when that comes up, I'll say it. But yeah, I don't think this is going to be as bad as the other event here from what I read. I think this is going to be a fun one, and I think people are going to like what they have here. So when we come back, I think we're going to continue on with part 1 and see where we can go from here and see what this event has in store. So with that in mind, I've been Grim. I'll be seeing you in part 0, and that will be it from me. So until then, don't let the beast catch you from the east. See what I did there?